Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of Knee Deep in the Pod. I'm Dan.
And I'm Chris. And this podcast is basically a place for us to talk about games and reminisce about the good old days when we actually had time to play them. This week, we're going to be talking about couch co-op.
But before we dive into that, we have a special guest to introduce. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
It's great to have you here. Would you be able to just tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you and what qualifies you to talk about couch co-op?
And okay, so my name's Matt. I am a long-time couch co-op gamer. I would go as far to say as it's my favourite genre of gaming, if we can call it a genre. It was sort of my intro to games, really. My brother and I used to play an awful lot of couch co-op growing up. And I'm very passionate about it. And I'm very sad, as we'll get to talk about later, hopefully, that we've moved online for gaming, I think. So we'll get into that later, I'm sure. But excited to be here talking about it with you lovely people and to see how the conversation naturally gets derailed as we talk.
And actually, on that, perhaps a more important question to kick us off is, what did you have for breakfast today?
What did I have for breakfast today? Man, that's a good question. I had a lemon and sultana Danish.
Oh,
whoa.
It was a special treat.
This guy's bringing it.
Absolutely. Sadly, not an M&S one, but it was Waitrose, so.
Wow.
Very nice. Yeah. And I suppose we should do our usual, what have you been playing lately? Should we start with you, Chris?
Yeah, sure. I've got a couple to choose from, but I am going to go with Rise of the Triad. I've come prepared with a prop for this one, okay?
Ooh.
Now, I can't remember if I've told this story on the podcast before or not, but I'll try and keep it brief just in case I have. But there was a game from my childhood that we had on our computer, or at least I must have played it on my dad's computer at some point, and I did not remember the name of it. I could barely remember much about it at all, other than it was a shooter. And I remembered the health bar was like made up of these little green capsules, and then they might turn like yellow or red if you're on low health.
Yeah. And
for years, I did not know what this game was, and I was like, I just really wish I could like find out what that was, dig it out, and I'd love to like just, actually play it and complete it. That would be so cool. But I had no idea. And like once every year or two, this kind of idea would pop into my head and I'd be like, it'd be so cool if I could find out what that was. But, alas, after a bit of Googling, I'd kind of not find anything and move on with my life. And then one fateful day, I was watching some YouTube video, one of those, like, I don't know, 10 DOS games from the 90s, or like when they just like run through like, here's like just a list of like cool DOS games, or from yesteryear, and I saw it. I recognized it by the health bar, and I was like, this is the game. Anyway, and it told me the name was Rise of the Triad. Now, I said I had a prop with me, and of course the listeners will not be able to see this, but I'll make some rustling noises. This is a paper jacket of a CD, and here you go, guys. This is like,
wow.
Oh my goodness.
This is a demo disc that has Rise of the Triad like printed on the top half, because it has like 10 different things on it. And this was like a disc that came on, I guess, like magazines or something. Like Dad had like 10 of these things, and I've got them in my room. Anyway, so it came on this. So, like, I guess, getting this prop out, I realized, like, maybe I could have just, probably a good place to start would have been to look at all these discs, hey? But anyway, found it, and recently I played it. I played it all the way through. There are, like, 4 or 5 episodes to it, so it's actually quite long. And the story goes, it's basically Wolfenstein 2.
Right. Oh, okay. As in, like, a spiritual successor.
Like, yes, almost a legitimate successor, and then partway through development, like id Software changed their minds and we're like, actually, no, we don't think it's right. Like, don't bother making Wolfenstein 2 for us anymore. Like, we're going a different direction. And the guys that were making it were like, okay, well, we'll keep what we've done, but we'll kind of reskin it and change it a bit. So it's still like, I mean, it's not Nazis anymore, but it's kind of still, it's shooting up like, you know, military guys mostly, but it's kind of gone in a different direction. There's like a cult. Well, I suppose Wolfenstein has a bit of this kind of culty stuff, and there's like zombie stuff, and there's like, you know, it kind of goes beyond the kind of just standard Nazis. But yeah, so, and it's based on, like Wolfenstein 3D's engine, but like modded quite a lot in like basically as far as they could take it. So there's verticality and, you know, skyboxes, and there's loads of like rocket based weapons that do heat seeking and all this stuff. So, and it's like, it's really wacky. Like there's like fire traps everywhere and like blades that just come out of the floor and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like, it's quite silly and lighthearted, but also, you know, it's a boomer shooter with lots of, you know, shooting people and violence as well. So it's a nice melting pot of stuff, and it was right in my wheelhouse. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
But Chris, you've not told us what the health bar looks like.
If only we were in a world where we could all just look up information.
What would you search?
Rise of the Triad health bar.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Matt could do that now and have a look. But like,
I mean, right now.
But if you were in my situation, like old game with funky health bar that looks a bit like a capsule, like that's not going to come off much, is it?
Yeah, I've been in that situation a few times where I've got like vague memories of a game that I've never been able to find.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I love that you brought a prop. You've really like upped your game there.
I hope we talked. Didn't you bring props? I thought we talked about it.
I didn't realize this was show and tell. Next time. Actually, you were supposed to do something this time, weren't you? From the last episode.
Okay, right. Well,
you were supposed to sing us
Remind
the
me.
Jazz Jack Rabbit
Jazz Jack
theme
Rabbit.
tune.
Oh, mate, I have to say, when you talked about that on the last podcast, I was like, I remember that music. I loved those games. Yes.
We can do a duet.
But, well, both the green and the red rabbits.
And red. Oh, there's a red rabbit.
There was a red rabbit. Yeah. Whose name I think was Spaz, but I can't remember. Something politically incorrect or, you know.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. They were great games. Really great games.
Nice. Okay. Well, is now the time? Are we doing it?
Now's the time. Now's as good a time as any.
Okay. But it on. I didn't do it as well as I'd hoped, actually. It was better in my head, but it's really funky.
Yeah,
so
that sounds right.
Oh man,
there's a lot of
I'm
good
glad
stuff
you
in
got
there.
to witness that, Matt.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the arm movements made it. It's a shame that the listeners can't see. Chris was doing the best dance whilst he was talking.
Yeah, I might maybe for episode 20 I'll try again. But there's like a proper collection of good tracks. Anyway, listen, right. There's a lot to talk about.
Right.
So, Dan, what have you been playing lately?
Yeah, well, don't worry, Chris. I'm not about to dive into my life story. I've just been playing a game called Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which I believe you got for me.
I did indeed, so I'm very interested.
Yeah.
Usually I'm not interested at all.
Been playing through it with my wife, and I'm sort of uncertain about how I feel about it. It's a very highly rated puzzle game, like highly regarded. And there have been some great puzzles, but it's a lot of like, basically, I think it's described as being a bit like Resident Evil in its mechanics. There's not like any shooting elements, but you're walking around this big mansion, and it uses like fixed camera angles. So you'll go through a door, and then the camera will suddenly cut to the next room, and then you can walk around that room. And you're exploring this house, like basically just trying to. Honestly, the story is a bit confusing. I'm not entirely necessarily following it, but you're solving puzzles, opening doors, that sort of thing. And it's been interesting. I'm just hoping it's one of those games that will eventually make sense. Do you ever play one of those games where it's it's really the story is kind of really abstract all the way through, and you're kind of always thinking, okay, maybe when I get to the end it will make sense. And then sometimes it just never does.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in that sort of camp, I fear.
So I've been speaking with you over the last couple of weeks, Dan, and as you know, myself and my wife, and your wife, Matt, and other people we know have been playing some of the Rusty Lake games.
Man, that's been responsible for so many late nights for my lovely wife. There are nights when I've woken up in the middle of the night, as you do occasionally, and she's been there tapping on things on her phone.
I think the Rusty Lake games are a little more accessible than this, I would say. There have been a number of times during this game where I've felt completely out of leads, on the verge of giving up, and then we've been persevering, and eventually we find something. But it feels like a very hard game, whereas Rusty Lake is, I don't know, a bit more. If you never feel super stuck.
Always things to tap on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there aren't too many places to get stuck. But it came to mind, one, because I've been playing it, but two, to your thing of always kind of waiting for it all to make sense. And to be fair, I don't feel like I'm not following it. But having played, because there's lots of little games strung together on this. There's 9 in this original collection, and then I've played a 10th one, and then I had played by your recommendation, Dan, played Rusty Lake Hotel first, and I am still waiting for the story to tie together. There are things that we've learnt, and I'm kind of following it along. And for people that don't know, there's this whole mysterious thing about these cubes and memories and time and this kind of lake. And it's what's all this stuff going on? There's and there's a bit of murder and stuff going on. Anyway, but whilst I've got all these different pieces, I'm okay, but what's going on? What is actually happening? I'm so intrigued. And my wife and I are already saying when are we gonna play the next one? I think it's Paradise or Roots, I forget. But anyway, would really recommend anyone that's a fan of puzzle games. Would recommend, and they're not expensive at all. And the first batch of them are free. So
I think of those games as kind of giving you lore rather than a story. I feel like there's a lot of Rusty Lake lore, but it's hard to actually make sense of it as one big cohesive whole.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of, I don't know whether you guys ever played those old point-and-click games, the Myst series. Have you come across those?
Yeah, it's on my list to play, actually.
Yeah, so they did a remake reasonably recently with up-to-date graphics and, moving around and stuff like that, rather than just click and go to a place with all sorts of quality of life improvements. And those are games where the puzzles are incredibly complicated. I remember sort of sitting with my brother and my mum, desperately trying to figure out one of the puzzles in this particular world. And the idea is that you sort of go to different worlds, and there is a chap that's been sort of journeying through these different worlds and leaves journal pages and things, and you have to discover those, and that fills in bits of the lore. It's a really, really clever game, and you solve puzzles to sort of improve your movement through the various worlds. I think you especially, Chris, would love it.
Okay.
Definitely worth checking out.
And in a sentence, can you define for me the difference between lore and story?
Me or Dan?
I was looking at you. No, you can't really tell. But yeah, Matt.
Yeah. Gosh, a great question. So I think lore gives you a sort of a view on the world and a background on the world, whereas the story is a narrative that follows a particular character through, or characters.
Okay.
I would say lore is more world-centric and story is more character-focused. Might be wrong. Listeners,
that sounds
send
legit.
a message to...
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I think of a story as more like having a beginning, middle, and end sort of thing, whereas lore is more like, yeah, like Matt said, it can describe the world at any given time, or like just nebulous events or rules that exist within the world but aren't necessarily connected.
Yeah, agreed.
Nice.
But what have you been playing recently, Matt?
Well, the game that I have most recently been playing is quite a modern game. It's a game that had a really, really weird development sort of progression. It started out as an MMO RPG and has become an entirely single player experience. It's a game that I've spoken to you about, Chris. A game called Crimson Desert, which has been all over the gaming things recently. It has garnered quite a lot of negative reviews when it first released about 3 months ago, because it was a bit of a mess. There were a lot of bugs, as is often the case. I should start. It's a very big open world, gorgeously sort of rendered, and every gaming mechanic that you can possibly imagine is in the game somewhere. It is just insane. It's developed by Pearl Abyss, a Korean studio, I think. And since it's been released, they have brought out, I mean, in 2 months or something, they've released close to 20 patches, I think. It's just insane how quickly they turn around bug fixes and things.
Wow.
They've added new features, which is incredible to think there's more that they could do. But it's a stunning game. You very quickly learn the audience. In the first sort of opening cinematics, it is very clearly meant for adults. Some of the language and violence on display. It is not a game for children or to be played when there are children anywhere near. However, however, it is a fabulous game. The mechanics are so tight. It has RPG elements, but it's more of a sort of action brawler with an awful lot of verticality. And you end up towards the end of the game, it's all over the trailers and sort of promotional material, but you end up by the end of the game being able to fly a dragon around the map. But the big selling point for it is just how massive the map is. You get lost. It's kind of sort of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom style, but and so it doesn't have a particularly directive narrative. You get a lot of information about lore. But yeah, it's a fabulous game. And as and when it comes down in price, I would recommend it. I picked it up because it's one I've been following for years and years. And it has not disappointed me.
Oh,
nice.
And he's still playing? Because we talked a couple months ago, I would have thought.
People have poured hundreds of hours into this and still not discovered everything. I am hour poor, as is the nature of people who are talking on this podcast. But I'm about 30 to 40 hours in, and I'm about 25% of the way through the main story.
Okay.
I have got very much diverted. You sort of go for a wander and you see a thing and you read it and you go, that's a quest that I'd like to go and investigate. So you go and do some investigation and you speak to some NPCs, and it's it does have a very weird blend of motion capture for some cutscenes which are gorgeously rendered, and then other bits where it's so buggy and the audio doesn't quite sync up with the animation they've bodged together for other cut sequences. But it's it's fabulous. Really, really worth checking out if anyone is hour rich and has hundreds of hours to pour into a single game.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't played it myself, but I've seen it kind of blowing up lately.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of people that followed it quite closely in the run up to it, and the big thing was like IGN rated it really badly, and there was this sort of huge social media backlash against IGN.
Wow,
that's quite a splash and all this. Yeah, there's a lot of noise about the whole thing. I watched a relatively balanced review. It was kind of generally positive, but also quite, relatively straightforward about, there are bugs and there are things that are, sorting. But kind of as a whole, the game is a good game. It's interesting. I think you do see this more and more. Would you say particularly with AAA games? I'm not sure if that's true, but like, it's not uncommon for games to be released, essentially unfinished. Maybe kind of finished in that, like all the story beats are there and the quests are all there, but like in full knowledge that we're gonna be patching this for like 3 to 6 months to get it to standard.
Maybe, but I also wonder whether as games get bigger and bigger, it's and more complicated, and the systems get so convoluted. Is it impossible to find all the bugs yourself? You have to wait for communities to push the boundaries of what if you have an idea of what your engine does, the community will push the bounds of that and then go, hang on, we've broken it. Come on, fix it. And I will say this, I think that, as I said, Perlibis have turned around fixes incredibly quickly. I think they released a sort of, but that was the usual day one patch of things that had been released in, sort of spotted in reviewer testing. But then sort of following on from that, after a couple of days, people had sort of complained it was too difficult, too easy, and found a whole load of places where you could sort of clip through walls and that sort of thing. And they turned around a fix in about 24 hours.
Wow!
So full credit to them as a dev studio. They've been very community minded.
I'm sure that like when you release a game like that and it gets into a lot of people's hands, the community is always going to find more bugs. But personally, I've never seen a game released where the developers didn't already know about like a ton of issues, but they're just minor enough that we think, oh, we can probably get away with that.
Yeah.
And sadly, sometimes, the devs will have every intention of releasing a patch, but then if the game's a flop, there's really no incentive at that point to like spend even more resources into patching this game if it's essentially unsalvageable.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go. I think that's quite a nice little range of games there, from 90s boomer shooters through interesting puzzle games to AAA, like bang up to date releases. So, covering the whole breadth of gaming experience.
Matt, do you want to do the honors and do the little intermission sound?
Of course, I can. I've been practicing. Best place in the bathroom. Good for the voices. It's good acoustic. Meow. You're welcome.
Wait, was that it?
That was it. Do you want to do it again? Chris isn't laughing.
Yeah, do it again.
Meow.
Sounds like a cat.
Yes. And there you go. 18 episodes in, and you hadn't realised that your sound effect sounded like a cat.
There we go. Chris, save us.
And we're off. So, couch co-op then. And maybe co-op more broadly, but we've... What?
Sorry, I'm
still reeling from the meow.
Sorry, Chris.
Right. Couch co-op. That's what we're doing. Couch co-op. And maybe co-op more broadly. We've brought Matt on as our resident expert in couch co-op. Self-professed. Well, first off, I'd be interested to know, so you said kind of your introduction to gaming was essentially doing couch co-op with your siblings. So talk us through that. What were you playing? What was that like? What console was that? Was it a console?
It was not a console. It was a PC game.
Ooh.
It was technically not a co-op game, and it was a single-player game, but we did it together. We took it in turns. We jumped in and out, and there are points where so it was a Grand Prix game. It was Grand Prix 2, 1995 Microprose. Microprose? Something like that. Anyway, so very much a single player game, but you take roles of Formula One drivers. You each have your own car that you drive around the circuit, and every 30 seconds to a minute, you swap. It gives you like a countdown. You swap seats, and the next person takes over, and you're all racing around this track together.
Cool.
And you can do like a campaign, like a season together, where you the two of you, might take part in, like, control both drivers from a single team, and aim to win the championship. It was great. But that's kind of one of my first gaming memories. It's the first and only time I've driven a Formula One car with a joystick.
Oh wow, with a joystick.
Yeah.
Come on.
Those were the days.
But yeah, it was it's one of those. I don't have familiar with racing games, but there were so many driver aids that the car basically was on rails. But as a 6 or 7 year old, actually, that was quite nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice leveler. But we used to do it. We used to play together as a family quite a lot, all crowded around one computer and one joystick.
Yeah,
got quite good at the sort of the seat swap.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that. And from there, Couch Cup wasn't really quite so much of a thing until we sort of got to GameCube era. But it was sort of quite a nice memory.
I started writing a list of like co-op games that I could, particularly bring to mind in terms of like what I played, with my wife or with friends. I've got a fair list here, but near the end, I was like, oh wait, it says like early days. I'm thinking like Super Nintendo. I've got down here Donkey Kong and Mario, like Super Mario World. That both of them have like essentially a co-op mode, but it's what you described. It's taking turns basically. For Mario, it's like, oh, Mario died, Luigi's turn, and you just kind of flip flop. And then with Donkey Kong, you both choose a monkey. Like one of you is Donkey Kong, one of you is Diddy Kong, and you can switch mid-level. Or if one of you dies, the other one kind of essentially takes over if you've got both monkeys. But yeah, I think that kind of was a fair bit of early days co-op. It was kind of essentially glorified taking turns.
Yeah, I was never really a big arcade gamer, but I was doing a bit of thinking about it. And actually, those arcade games where you had, I was trying to remember the name of it, and I googled it this week in preparation for this. But like Time Crisis, where we used to go bowling at the bowling alley. Used to have this Time Crisis arcade machine.
Yeah,
and you'd both put your pound coins in, and
with the light guns.
Yeah, with the light guns, and that is. I mean, technically not a couch, but it is a sort of co-op game where you are both sharing the same screen.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
It's but that's sort of, I can't remember when I would have come across that, but sort of probably 98, 99, something like that. But yeah, so I think co-op has come and developed from that sort of arcade experience, and become a sort of social thing, which I think is why I like it. We were sort of saying before the podcast, before we started recording, about enjoying the social element to things, and I think for me that's one of the things I love about co-op, which is the sort of shared in-person experience that is lost with online gaming.
Yeah, there's definitely been a massive shift to online. It seems quite rare now, and that's a sentiment I've heard quite a lot actually online, is that no one's making couch co-op games now. Has that been your experience as well?
Well, it's interesting. I think AAA studios and sort of big studios have kind of moved away from it. I have prepared some. Would you like to hear my statistics?
Absolutely.
Please.
Fantastic. Excuse me whilst I just call them.
These are the hard-hitting facts you don't usually get on Knee Deep in the Pod.
Absolutely. So I have done some very detailed statistical work with the help of a nameless AI. But I have some statistics going back to the 70s.
What?
They are, that I know. So, couch co-op. Estimated in the 1970s between 5 and 15 total couch co-op games.
Okay.
Wow.
In the 80s, 150 to 250 games couch co-op apparently released. Anywhere between 100 and 170 of those by major publishers. Now, I could go through, but as we go through the years, the 90s and the 2000s, the AAA games co-op split was significantly higher, sort of looking at sort of anywhere between 700 and 1,000 co-op games.
Wow.
But in the 2010s, as sort of the big indie boom happened, the number of AAA couch co-op games dropped to 200, sort of as we got to big online streaming and that sort of thing. But the indie market surged nearly 10 times. So there was sort of about 5,000 indie games published in the 2010s that would be considered couch co-op, which is like a 94% market share. And it's only got more in that direction since COVID.
So it sounds like there's been almost like an explosion and like just huge growth of this couch co-op sort of genre or like classification, I guess, in the indie space, but in AAA kind of space, it's just been on a steep decline.
Yeah, I do have a theory about this, and Dan, you might be able to shed some light on it from a dev side. But I wonder whether as games have got bigger and the perception from AAA studios is that gamers are wanting higher fidelity, better graphics, bigger worlds, is there a hardware element to having two people playing on the same screen as a split screen or sharing the same hardware where there might be a limitation to the hardware that's meaning that they have to move away from, or they've chosen to move away from local co-op because it's less demanding on the hardware to do online co-op? I don't know whether there's any sort of wisdom to that from a dev side.
That is a really interesting question. I don't know the answer. I think that there are extra resource requirements associated with like split screen because you having to render the game from two perspectives. But I would sooner take the task of optimizing that over making online multiplayer work. If you were choosing between the two, like online multiplayer is just such a pain, whereas local co-op is like fairly trivial to implement. But I suspect that a lot of people moved online just because they felt that was where things were headed generally.
Yeah.
Because it's just more convenient.
Yeah. And
you can play like with anyone in the world. I guess it's a way of guaranteeing more players because, you know, if you have online multiplayer, you can just hop on a game with literally anyone. You don't have to have, you know, organize an event with all your friends.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I wonder if that pattern that you described, if we'd see a similar pattern with other genres as well, where just there's this kind of indie explosion because the cost of entry is so low now to make indie games compared to like these big AAAs.
Yeah, and I wonder whether that will continue to grow as AI slop kind of fills the market a little bit. You know, I wonder how that will change it as well. But it's a fascinating thing, and I am always interested to see. But I hope there are still some AAA developers out there that are like, actually couch co-op is our thing, you know. And there are some games. I know, Chris, you and your lovely wife have been playing Split Fiction reasonably recently, haven't you? Did you start it? And was that you, or was that somebody else?
I think it might be somebody else.
You were playing the prequel, right?
Or
the other one from the same studio.
It Takes Two.
Oh, It Takes Two. Yes, sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Same studio. Yes, so yeah, you're right. I'm playing through It Takes Two with my wife. Who I think all of us here have played that game, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, we're having a great time. We played it, on date night a few days ago, actually. After dinner and a bit of TV, we moved on to that, and just having a great time. It's just that game is just pure fun. It's just like it's really good fun, and there are challenging bits, and but it's just there's really great puzzles and working together, and like just fun action, and like the story is enjoyable. It's just like, and you know what? Like I think for anyone that has no idea what we're talking about, so it takes two. I think the best way to describe it is a bit like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It's like you're tiny people and you're running around like normal-ish kind of home environment and garden environment, whatever. But you're tiny, and so everything is massive. And so like normal objects are now kind of, huge and weird. And there's so much that you can do with that concept. And we're just having we're having an absolute blast. So I think just to like round off, because I think maybe it's like we've kind of talked around it, but like, what do we love, or what is like, what make a case for couch co-op? Like, why is couch co-op great? And I think we've touched on like, the social element. And I think, I would say like, I'm not particularly, I'm not kind of violently against online play or an online co-op. I think there's some benefits there and whatever. But I think what I would say is like, in almost all circumstances, with one or two exceptions, nothing like beats the quality of the experience of being in the same room with someone playing the game together. If you can, like, it's not always practical, can't always do it, but when you can, that is like, that is top tier experience. So like playing It Takes Two with my wife in the same room, that's amazing. And we've played couch co-op games really throughout our relationship. We can go back to that in a bit, but we talked about, maybe a few episodes ago, we did this LAN day, which it's not quite the same as couch co-op, but it was, it was four guys in a room with our PCs playing games together. Some of them co-op, some of them against each other, and that's just like, it is night and day that compared to us all, logging online of an evening to do it, which also is fun, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Is it that there's that the human connection is purer when it's in person? Do you think? Like, there's no sort of screen between you. I think for me, I really the experience of being in a space, as you said, Chris, is really special, and I love the being able to sort of say to someone after something like that, or do you remember when such and such happened, or and you've got those stories that you have that are special for you. And I think there's a disconnect for me when it's over the internet, because it's that there's a barrier. And I think it might be a computer screen barriers, or more sort of metaphorical, I don't know, but there is something pure about being able to look at someone else's screen and go, that's really cool, I love what you just did. And I mean, peeking at someone else's screen, it's such a split screen thing, but being able to see what someone else is doing. Oh, all right, you're just there, you need to go left and then up there and do that thing. Like, you can't do that when it's online. And I think that bit of it I love as well.
There's something about killing someone in a game and then making eye contact with them in real life.
In a co-op game, Dan. In a co-op
Maybe
game.
not so much in co-op.
I don't want to play co-op games with you.
Well, I tell you what, funnily enough, because you were talking about a game that was like, you were playing this F1 game that wasn't strictly a co-op game, but you treated it that way. Funnily enough, Dan and your brothers turned a co-op game into a versus game. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Wars.
Lego Star Wars.
Yeah,
just like basically, it's like, we can just do dueling. Like, pick a character and have at it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, I like those co-op games where you can kind of what's the word? Like, when you
bully.
Sure, we'll go with that. You can like bully each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
friendly fire on.
Yeah, there's always this sort of like, tension between like, hey, we're working together, but I'm just going to push you off this ledge.
Yeah. But it's all low stakes, right? And so that's kind of why it's so fun. It's like, it's kind of like, oh, you got me, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Grief. I think the word I was looking for was grief. You can grief each other. Yeah.
Wasn't there a thing with like early Lego Star Wars games where if you ran off the screen, you died? Or if you forced someone else off the screen, they died? Is that a thing? I vaguely
Yeah, I
remember
think
reading
so.
something about
I think it is. Yeah, if you go too far, because like they need to let someone, or maybe it's with the when you've got like the shared screen and like don't want to jump ahead, but the whole kind of split screen versus shared screen, because you have that option with some of these Lego games, don't you? It's like you got your own space, or are you sharing a screen together? So I think you can, and you kind of they die and teleport, near the person that's got the lead, sort of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I love that.
The other thing about couch co-op versus online is like you've made the effort to be there and get together, so you've got that time set aside. Whereas I feel like online gaming, it's much more. It can be very ad hoc. It might be like, oh, okay, I'm going to hop on for half an hour, but then I've got to go.
Yeah.
So it's harder to like have those long extended sessions.
Yeah. I'm going to jump on this. I was having this conversations like this. Funny enough, with Tim, a previous guest of the podcast, and I basically put it like this. I was like, I wonder if consoles are actually missing a trick here. Because it's perfectly possible to do couch co-op with a PC as well these days. Hook up a couple controllers and you can do that. In fact, to be fair, that's probably how I do most of our couch co-op with my wife now. But like with consoles, it's like they're built for it. Like that's the whole point. You've got multiple ports for a controller. Probably you bought the thing with at least two controllers. And it's like it's part and parcel of the whole thing. And this is like, old men talking about their childhood now, but like this, when we were kids and it was like, someone had a particular game on their particular console, it was an event to be like, oh, let's go around such and such's house to check out this new game. And you take turns and you play and you do co-op or you do verses and whatever. And you'd all come around and it'll be like a whole big thing. And it wasn't as nearly as easy to do it with a PC, certainly at the time. And even now, even though all these platforms have online play and stuff, and technically you can do, controls on a PC, I still feel like this is something that like consoles are like built for this. And I think I've, in the notes we made, I kind of almost put it as like, is this console's lost superpower? I suspect, a lot of studios have gone in this direction of like focusing on online play first for multiplayer and for co-op, because there's more players and there's more money in it. But I think that misses the point of like the quality of the experience of your players. And I think people that like, even though they might be a smaller group, if you make couch co-op possible, the people that do that will be so invested in your game, and they will be evangelists of your game to other players. Like, I think there's like a whole like there's almost, I think there's a business case for it more than anything else. But yeah, I think that's something that is like lost. And I remember preparing for this LAN day recently, I got really frustrated because I found like a few games in my library. I was like, oh, this looks like a great like multiplayer game that we could all do together. And a load of them were online play only. And that just, honestly, that boiled my blood. I was so irritated. I was like, why? Like, how hard must it be to just have this as a feature? And it just, does my nut in.
Yeah, I have a question about that then, which is, you said, most people have a couple of controllers for their console. Is that the case? Because extra controllers for a console now cost upward of £50.
That's true. Not cheap now.
No, and I wonder whether there's a correlation between that, whether the drop in local co-op has matched up with controllers, because there's not that assumption that people have multiple controllers.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is fair. It does feel like you're like an extra, like slightly painful step to get a second controller, or albeit dare I say a third or a fourth. But to your GameCube thing, that had 4 controller ports out of the gate. Like that is just like mwah. Like that is such. I love how bold that is. Because I still have a PS2 in my lounge, and I've got not everyone will be familiar with this, but a multi-tap. And this was a way of like a special adapter basically to then be able to connect 4 controllers into your PlayStation. Because it was like not typical. And I loved it that the GameCube, I never had one, but that came with 4 ports like ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something really, really wonderful about having 4 people on the same screen.
Yeah.
You know,
You're all squinting because it's the size of a postage
well,
stamp.
exactly. Back in the CRT days where the screens were only sort of maximum of 18 inches or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's good times though. But I do think that era was a golden era for couch co-op. You know, with the GameCube and the Xbox and the PS2 with the multi-tap. Like, I do think that was the sort of the peak for me of co-op gaming, particularly couch co-op gaming. And that is an era I want to celebrate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm keen to like dive into some specific games because I think
Yes.
the mistake we made when we did the soundtrack episode was we talked kind of very abstractly for most of it, and then we had to like cram, here are all our favorite games, like game soundtracks, into the last sort of 10 minutes. So
I hate to break it to
what do
you,
you
we're 50
think?
minutes in, so we've made the same mistake, but yeah, I was thinking the same. Were you asking Matt for some of his standouts?
yeah, what are some of like your favorite couch co-op games, I suppose?
Oh, amazing. Well, I have a list. I will read to you from the list.
Please.
So the first one that came to mind was Mario Kart Double Dash, which was just an evolution of the first one I ever played was Mario Kart 64, but the Double Dash reinvented the kart where you and a friend were both on the same kart together. One of you was the driver, one of you was the person at the back in control of the weaponry and defensive measures, and you could, if you both agreed to it, tap the Z button, or one of the Z buttons, and you would swap places
Oh,
on the
amazing.
fly.
That's
And
a
it
fun
was,
idea.
yeah, and it was the whole selling point of the game. Up to this point, you've raced a kart solo. Now it's a co-op game. Drive together. I mean, you could still control it together, but it wasn't designed like that. It was designed so that it was the main part of the game was a co-op game. My brother and I played an awful lot of shooters as well growing up. Time Splitters.
Yeah.
Whether you ever came across Time Splitters, but
I've not played it, but I've heard such good
oh my
things.
goodness, it's an insane amalgamation of all sorts of time periods and genres. But the campaign was split screen co-op, and you played through, and it was sort of there were sort of points where one of you went off to do a thing to unblock the other person's route, and it was sort of the first example of that I can really think of. We've talked about Lego Star Wars already. It Takes Two and Split Fiction, which is amazing. More recently, my wife and I have played a lot of Overcooked, which is just an insane game. We love food. We are foodies, and when you mix food and food preparation with moving stages, teleportation, making a burger on the back of a truck, it just leads to some. I mean, it gets quite intense. We have to play it in short periods because it gets a bit stressful. But it's a great little game.
Stressful.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, Portal is Portal a would you consider Portal a co-op game? Was Portal 2?
There is a co-op. Yeah, there's a whole co-op like campaign. Basically, I played it through with my wife. I don't know, 6 months ago, a bit longer.
In Portal 2.
In Portal 2, yeah.
Yeah, it's not one that I've tried, but it's on my in my Steam library, ready to go. When I have some
would
time.
Would recommend for sure.
But yeah, and sort of Halo. I mean, the first one that I played was it Halo ODST?
Oh yeah.
The one without actually the Master Chief in, but my brother and I played our way through that, which was great. And there was in sort of the Wii era, there was a mechanic where you could play Super Mario Galaxy, which was just an incredible single player game, but your little brother or sister could jump on with a second Wii remote and gather up all the little star bits as you ran around.
Oh,
Just
cool.
a star cursor that you could wave at the screen. And it was a wonderful way of getting like younger brothers and sisters involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so quick fire run through some of my favorite games in the co-op genre. But yeah, I think the thing that links them all together is that they are designed to be co-op games rather than it being a sort of additional, sort of added feature.
Sure.
Whereas designed as a single player game, but last minute it gets added in. And sort of the other sort of more recent ones, like Divinity Original Sin, or like Divinity 2 Original Sin, like an RPG turn-based combat game. It falls into that isometric RPG thing, a little bit like Baldur's Gate.
Okay,
where you're running around a map doing things, but you can go off and do your own thing and come back together, and then you have your turn-based combat. So we played that, and then the studio that did that, Larian Studios, also then went on to do Baldur's Gate 3, which my wife and I have played an awful lot of.
Is that
not
have
finished.
you played that? Is that co-op? Have you played that together?
It is, yeah, it's couch co-op. And she's played it online with a friend as well.
Okay.
But we have played it cooperatively, and the nice thing about that is you both, like in a party of 4, you can both take control of a couple of characters and hot swap between them.
Nice.
You can go off and do things. Yeah. Some of my favourites. And how about you?
Some good ones.
Yeah.
Well, I'll rattle through this list, but I've one that was not on my list that you've reminded me of, because you mentioned the Wii. Dan and I have spent a good many hours playing tanks.
Oh, yeah.
Just from
On
Wii
Wii Play.
On Wii Play.
Yeah.
The amount of time
Yeah,
we
yeah.
spent playing that game.
And we never got past like level, I don't know, 18 or so.
I think we won. I think once we won. Or at least we got to level
Really?
20. Yeah. And there was this like ghost tank or something. And yeah. I think there was this one time.
Do you know if you beat level 20, you then unlock another 80 levels?
Yeah, I think there were more levels, and then it was a bit of a come down, I think. But,
You've won the game, now have another 4 times as many levels.
yeah. Pull the
It's
rug.
Insane.
That's a brilliant game. And for anyone that doesn't know, obviously using the Wii mechanics of the Wiimote and all that stuff, but it's kind of like an action puzzle game, essentially. I mean, you're tanks shooting other tanks, but it's kind of, and it feels like it's a little bit like Army Men in that it's like, and it takes 2 actually. It's that kind of like toys on a table type vibe. Like it's like your kind of almost toy tanks on like, a dining room table or something. That sort of, I was really love that aesthetic. But similar to you, Matt, I've played through every Halo game available that has couch co-op. I've played it with my wife. And I'm sure I've told the story before on this podcast. Just got so frustrated when Halo 5 didn't have it, and we just assumed it did because every single other one did, and it didn't. And then it was like, so we kind of made very slow progress through that game, and it was just a bit painful. It's irritating. Gears of War, like again, everyone we could get our hands on, both those collection of games on Xbox 360. We've mentioned It Takes Two. Crash Bash, I think that you can do. Can you do that cooperatively? Am I right in thinking that?
That's a great show. Yeah.
Yeah, Crash Bash on the PlayStation. Nightfire, you can't. It hasn't necessarily got a co-op mode, but it has team modes.
Is it the 007 game?
Yeah, 007 Nightfire.
Yeah.
But it has team modes, so like capture the flag and other things. So you could kind of do, groups of you working as a team. Trine, which is like an action puzzle platformer game. That's really good for couch co-op. We've mentioned Kiwi in the past, which is this like puzzle. Yeah, this kind of cute puzzle game where you are controlling these little kiwi birds. That's really fun for to play with a friend or a partner. You've mentioned Portal. We played again with me and my wife. We played a lot of shooters when we could on the console. So we also played this game called The Resistance, which I think was a relatively big deal on PlayStation 3. Was kind of one of the kind of titles that was, what do you call it when it's like it's is it first party, or like it's only on PlayStation? It's not on other exclusive. Yeah. And we've mentioned the Lego games. Now this, I'm actually going to like throw a spanner in here. This is online
Well,
co-op.
it's appropriate for Lego.
Yeah, I actually got I got my boys playing one of the Lego games recently. I think it's still just like the puzzles can just be a bit too thinky still. But being able to run around and destroy literally everything is obviously great. Dan and I played a game, and this is actually weirdly on this episode not a case for online co-op, but like where online co-op can be like a really cool thing. We played a game called Bokura. Which I can't think of a way that you could play that like on the couch and that it would work. And the reason I say that is it's a 2D platformer, like puzzle platformer, and halfway through the game, this thing happens, and basically the whole game then like changes in that like one person, like what you see on your screens is different. You have like, you're kind of in the same world, but in like parallel worlds. I don't know how better to describe that, Dan. Have you got, can you help me out?
No, that's it. You're in like, parallel dimensions. So you see a kind of different representation of the same space. And you can each interact with it in different ways, can't you?
That's right. Yeah. And so you've kind of got to describe what you're seeing and like kind of get someone to do something on their screen that you don't quite understand, but like, I can see this. Does that mean, have you got something that's a bit different to that? Could you do a thing? So, almost the point is you can't quite see what each other is, can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just on that note, you remind me of two things. Firstly, Split Fiction, which is the studio that made It Takes Two, their more recent release. There is a point later in the game where that sort of thing happens.
Cool.
In that particular story as well. But obviously, being able to see each other's screens as a sort of vertical split screen changes that an awful lot. But you reminded me of a co-op game that I didn't have on my list that my wife and I spent hours and hours playing. And it's one of you's on the computer and one of you is sat with a manual.
Yes.
Keep talking.
Oh, the
and
bomb
nobody
one.
explodes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, is that game fun?
Yeah.
But that is the ultimate in co-op experiences where one of you, for those of you that don't know, one of you is sitting with a sort of bomb in front of you and you have to try and defuse it, except your partner, who can't look at the screen, has the manual and you have to describe what you're seeing and they have to describe what's in the manual, and together you have to work together to stop the bomb exploding in a time limit, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
My goodness, I haven't played that in years.
We've still got the manual somewhere. We do it on the shelf. Print it off, and then you got notes on it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But that's another one that you could play online, except in person. It just feels so much better.
Yeah.
Yes,
you can feel the
definitely.
tension, and sometimes, let's be honest, the frustration in the room. But that's all
Yeah. A moment when tensions bubble over, and you have to just go and make a nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
Click on the wiggly thing. Just click on the wiggly thing.
Not that wiggly thing, the red and yellow stripy one.
What do you mean the wiggly thing?
I haven't got any wiggly things.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Because didn't that game like have a VR mode as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Man, sorry we interrupted you, Chris.
No, that was basically my list. I was actually going to interrupt you and just say we haven't yet mentioned Space Team, but it deserves at least 30 seconds of discussion in this episode.
So, for those of you that don't know, this was a free game, I think, that was released online by someone that was really passionate about it. Have you come across Space Team, Dan?
Yeah, I think I've played it once or twice.
Yeah. So we played it a little bit, but on my stag do, in my goodness, like the hovel that was the place that we stayed, there were not enough beds. The guy was there in his dressing gown eating his cereal, but you could see quite a lot. It was such a dive.
Taking the heaters all out of the rooms in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
and bringing them back once we're around.
Major decorating whilst we were there having breakfast.
So random.
But my memory of that, my biggest memory of that house was all of us sat in a room with our phones out playing Space Team and yelling at each other to do things like, invert the Flibberty Gibbet and, wrangle the Sporkle wrench or whatever. And just nonsense instructions, but somebody will have that instruction on their screen. And like the chaos of simultaneous shouting and, trying to communicate with 10 or 12 people all working on the same ship as it flies through space, and you've got to, avoid spatial distortions and all sorts of things like that. And it's a fabulous little game. Very easy to set up as well.
That's so great.
That is definitely a local co-op one.
It works with like phones being on the same Wi-Fi network or something, or Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And I'd never come across that until Your Stag did. It was a revelation. It's so great. And it is just one of those like silly, like kind of party games essentially. And it's just like the shouting silliness and you're kind of, the idea is you're like kind of flying this spaceship together, right? You're kind of the spaceship crew, and you've always like got different controls in front of you. And not only are you like shouting at each other to do the different things, and you got to do them in a time frame, but also like, as you say, like as spatial distortions, things happen and whatever, like the controls you need to do the things that people are shouting at you, they start like flying off the screen and coming. I need to like repair them and wipe the slime off them and stuff before you can like do all this stuff. So it's like, that is,
it's a special experience.
Yeah.
But again, it's that sort of story where, I can remember exactly where we were playing it. I can remember sitting on those really low beds and it's that human connection, that shared memory of a time and a place where you were all in one location. I love that. Man, Space Team, so good.
I have some similar memories. Shall I dive into my...
Yeah, do it.
Please.
List? So I've kind of got a distinction. I keep a list of all my favourite games already, so I just dug these out. But I've kind of got a distinction between what I call quick play co-op games versus like long-term co-op games. So there's some games where, like we play tanks, you can just hop in, spend half an hour or an hour playing, and then put it away again. And there's no like, saved progress. It's not something you're going to have to come back and finish later. And then you've got the long-term co-op games where you're working through like a lengthy campaign and you kind of do it in stints. So We Play is definitely up there for me. That's just so much fun. And one thing that I particularly like about that is there's almost it's like a semi-cooperative, semi-competitive element to it. Because yes, you're trying to collectively survive through the levels, but it also gives you a score at the end of each level to tell you how many tanks you each shot. So you're kind of competing at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
It's like we're a team, but also
team. But then you're sitting there smug. Another one is Jamestown, and this one is one I've got very fond memories of playing. Like, I remember me and maybe my brother and a couple of friends, we'd be all like huddled around my PC in my tiny little uni room, using whatever devices we can find. Like maybe one of us is on a mouse, one of us is on a keyboard, and we've got a couple of gamepads or something, and we're all just like cramped into this tiny space playing together. That I think is just a really, really fun game. It's a, what do you call it? Top-down shoot 'em up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic like spaceships flying up, vertically up as like all the like bullet hell kind of, aliens and spacecraft fly down and try and kill you. For like kind of very arcade style.
Yeah, sort of a little bit like Asteroids or like something like that, where you're sort of flying around this particular space, but it's
a bit like that, but it's kind of auto scrolling vertically the whole time.
Yeah, so you're always shooting up the screen at enemies enemies are coming from all sides. But it's just a really fun game. Absolutely phenomenal soundtrack. And you kind of you learn the levels the more you play. There aren't that many levels, but they're quite hard. So you end up playing them a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And there were a few challenges that we like really struggled with. And so we would just play these levels over and over again, learning, exactly where the enemies were going to spawn in, and then we'd be ready. And there were always these moments where everyone on the team has died except one person. And that one person has to survive long enough for other players to respawn. Because if everyone dies, you lose a continue. But as long as one person survives, you're still in. So that always felt like really good. If that was you and you like
everyone's like
kept
rooting
the team
for
alive.
you, and then
Yeah. Another one that I've only discovered quite recently is a game called Pico Park. Have either of you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I don't know anything about it, but it does ring a bell.
It's a very fun, silly platformer type game where the levels are very, very short, but you really have to work together to get to the end. And every level has some gimmick or some twist. So they're all different. And the levels adapt based on the number of players. So the most simple example, right, is there might be a gap that's too long, too big of a gap to jump over. So what you have to do is you've got to jump on each other's heads to like stack up so that one of you, whoever's on top of the stack, can make the jump and then press a button on the other side to extend a bridge. But the gap will lengthen based on how many players are in the game. So you will always have to make a complete stack of every player that's in the game. So there's just loads of little fun challenges like that. So it's a really good one. I'd recommend it.
It was great. It had elements of like, kind of elements of Space Team in that it's like the silly like chaos, and like we're particularly like, so we played it this LAN day when there's 4 of us, and so you kind of, a few of you probably decide without saying anything like, oh, I'm going to go get that button, or I'm going to do it, and then you get in each other's way, and someone falls off the ledge, and someone dies, and it's just it's all going wrong. It was really, really good. So I played a bit with my wife, and I've actually, funnily enough, like they cannot get beyond the first, like after like level 4, it's too much. But like my boys will play the first few levels and like manage it and have a laugh.
Nice.
And it's got a really great like retro like vibe about it as well. It's really good.
Yeah. And then one final honorable mention is New Super Mario Bros. Wii.
Oh yeah,
which is like just a classic Mario game that was on the Wii. And again, part of the reason I liked it was the semi-cooperative nature about it. You're all on a team, but only one of you is getting to the finish line first.
Yeah,
that's great.
It reminds me a little bit of like classic Sonic the Hedgehog games. Was it Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where one of you could jump on as a second player and play as Tails, and your only role was to run around as an invincible character and be on the screen. In later games, I think there was a mechanic where Sonic could jump on and Tails could carry him up, but basically your job as Tails was just to be on the screen and have no part in what was happening. A race to the end.
And yet, that's still better than nothing.
It absolutely is. I love it. Yeah.
Are there any co-op games you guys are particularly looking forward to, or like haven't had a chance to play, but you're on your list?
Nice question.
Nothing comes to mind. My wife and I do play a lot of puzzle games together, but they're not strictly co-op games. They're essentially single-player games that
you end up playing together.
We play together because it's mostly kind of thinky in your head, so you can both contribute to solutions.
Yeah, I think as I've sort of gone through, I tend to sort of inadvertently turn a lot of single-player games into cooperative experiences because I love the puzzle experience, and there's something lovely about all of you sat around a screen trying to work out how to solve a puzzle. Whatever that game might look like. One of my fondest memories growing up actually were playing like Tomb Raider 2 and Tomb Raider 3, and and the rest of the classic Tomb Raider series with my mum, and we used to make notes of what we'd seen and try and pull apart the puzzles, and we'd turn those single player experiences into a cooperative challenge. Sort of I always can't help myself now with games like that where it's puzzly to go, actually let's talk about it and figure out what we're going to do. I love that.
I think that's an interesting kind of point to throw into the whole difficulty conversation. It's not to kind of bring up a whole nother thing now, but like when a game is hard like that and you have siblings or friends around, you know, there is like, go on, you have a go. Like, see if you can do it. I can't, I've tried it 10 times. I can't do it. See if you can do it. And then that turns it into this communal experience, right? Where it's not just you. It's like, you know, you're having a go. I think that like there was a bit of that going on with Tomb Raider in our house as well. I mean, I think, you know, ultimately, you know, one of my sisters particularly loved it and, you know, like would like kind of owned it and went, you know, would play it obsessively essentially. But, there was an element of like, oh, let's sit together and, you know, and watch and yeah, like try and come up with ideas how to fix the, you know, how to solve the puzzles for sure. Which also gives you an idea of how difficult the puzzles are in Tomb Raider, because they are devilishly hard at times.
Yeah. And I think that collaborative experience, that the working together, the teamwork aspect of it is the thing that really sells me on co-op games. I think it's something that I really value outside of video games. I love tabletop role-playing games where you are working together as a party to achieve an aim or do a thing, and tell a story together. I love as doing maths with other people and working together. That buzz of creating something together is a unique thing that is lost for me when it's online or when it's just not there. I love that sort of the collaborative creation thing, you know, and it could be a work thing, you know, when you're sort of working on a project with colleagues or whatever. Like when you bring something, when you have that genesis moment of a thing that you've done or an achievement that crystallizes when you've worked together in a team, that, you know, clapping each other on the back and saying that was something that we did together is so special.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is like with I think a lot of people will just jump on games, you know, online games and just be like, play with anyone. I've never really had any interest in that at all. Even if I play online, it's something I arrange with friends.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I don't like ever just jump on to play with anyone. And so you're thinking of like, because then it's still, I think, has, you know, albeit not in quite the perfect sense of being actually physically together in a room, but it still has that kind of, collaborative thing. And it's like a moment in time, just having a great time with mates. I think that's kind of, it for me.
Well, I think we're out of time, but Matt, thank you so much. This has been a really interesting discussion.
It's been great. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Nice to see you behind the curtain.
Thank you for bringing your expertise. Stan didn't know anything about it.
And your cat noise. We still don't really have a way to end an episode, so we just kind of sheepishly say bye and then that's it.
Would you like one final cat?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
Feels like a good way to end. Right, I'll see if I can do my best one yet. Meow.
That was your best one yet.